Welcome to another episode with this freak. Halloween is around the corner, and I wanted to talk about the history of Halloween. Why does America celebrate it? And where did it originate from, and the strange stories that happen? But first, we have a special guest who wanted to join us. He's a friend of Larry's.
You sure you want to meet him, boy?
Larry, I love meeting people, man. What's the worst that can happen?
I don't know. He's kind of weird.
Dude, you called it. You told me you had a friend that wanted to be a part of this podcast, and now here he is.
All right, boy. He's a good friend of mine. I met him in a bar a couple weeks ago. He's a Miami native. He's from Miami.
Really cool. I've been to Miami a couple times. Love this.
Hey, sir. Nice to meet you.
Hey, buddy. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
My name is Alejandro, but you could call me A for short.
Where are you from?
I was born in Puerto Rico, but then moved to Miami.
Say, David, you're part Latin, right?
Yeah, I am. My mom's Cuban and my dad's from Kentucky.
Really? Well, you know what they say about Cubans. Pablo Escobar.
Not all of us, dude. He was Colombian, though, but good stereotype.
That's right. And what makes you think?
Now let's talk about the word Halloween. What is it, and what does it represent? Well, Halloween started more than 2,000 years ago with the Celtic people who lived in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and parts of northern France. These people lived close to the land their whole life, and this was built around farming, the seasons, and the cycle of planting and harvest. They held many festivals to mark the changes in the year, but the most important and feared one was called Samhain. And this festival took place on the night of October 31st because it was the end of the harvest and start of the winter. For the Celts, the winter wasn't just cold, it was dangerous. Food was often scarce, sickness spread easy, and death came more often in the dark months. And they believed that on this one night, the barrier between the living and the dead grew thin, and the spirits could walk among the living. Some of these spirits were considered to be kind and helpful, maybe even bringing blessings to their families, but others were feared to be angry, cruel, or lost and able to bring bad luck, like harming crops or cause illness. Because of this, the people were afraid but also wanted to respect the dead, and to deal with this, the Celts held big gatherings led by their druid priests. They built huge bonfires on hillsides where everyone in the community came together, and they would burn crops and animals as offerings to their gods, asking for their protection through the long winter. Around the fire, they told stories and gave thanks and prayed for safety. People also wore animal skins and carved masks, trying to hide themselves from wandering spirits. But the idea was simple. If a ghost came close, it might think you were another ghost or creature and leave you alone. This is how the very first idea of costumes on Halloween began. Not for fun, but as a way to survive the night and avoid being noticed by the dead. In 43 AD, when the Romans took over Celtic lands, they mixed their traditions with Samhain. The Romans had a festival called Feralia, which was also about honoring the dead, and another festival for Pomona, the goddess of fruit and trees. And her symbol was the apple, which is why apple games like bobbing for apples became tied to Halloween. Even with these changes, the core Celtic belief stayed the same, that October 31st was a night when the dead could visit the living. Later, as Christianity spread through Europe, the church wanted to turn these old pagan customs into church holidays. But by the 7th century, the church created All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, on November 1st. It was meant to honor all saints and holy people. The night before became known as All Hallows Eve, which over time got shortened to Halloween with apostrophe in the middle. And finally, the word that we know now, Halloween. During the Middle Ages, new customs grew out of this. Poor people and often children would go house to house asking for food in return for saying prayers for the family's dead loved ones. This was called souling. Instead of candy, they were often given small cakes called soul cakes. Later, children began to dress in costumes, sing songs, play tricks, or even tell stories in return for food or coins. This was called guising, and it was the early form of trick-or-treating. When Irish and Scottish immigrants came to America in the 1800s, they brought their Halloween traditions with them. Along with this, they also carried the old story of Stingy Jack, a man who tricked the devil and was cursed to walk the earth with only a carved turnip lit by a coral inside it to guide him. And this legend gave rise to the jack-o'-lantern, but in America, turnips were hard to find while pumpkins were everywhere, and they were bigger and easier to carve. And soon the pumpkin became the main symbol of Halloween, glowing on porches with scary or funny faces. Over time in America, Halloween became more about community gatherings and less about spirits. People often held parties with games, music, and costumes. Trick-or-treating became popular with children, especially in the 20th century, and candy replaced the old food or coins. Costumes also changed. They were no longer just scary disguises, but they included funny, creative, or magical outfits. So when we ask who, what, when, where, and how about Halloween, it was the Celts who first made it more than 2,000 years ago in the lands of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and northern France. Halloween became what is now, by slowly changing over thousands of years, shaped by fear, religion, migration, and culture. But the heart of it is still the same. It began as a night when people tried to protect themselves from the spirits of the dead by wearing disguises and lighting bonfires against the darkness.
So it's completely harmless? Then why do people think it's the devil's birthday?
Some people believe Halloween is the devil's birthday, but this idea comes from misunderstanding and fear, not from real history. Later, though, when Christianity spread, the church made November 1st into All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, to honor holy people, and the night before became All Hallows' Eve, which turned into Halloween. And over time, Halloween became connected with spirits, witches, black cats, and spooky images, which made it look dark or scary. And in modern times, some religious groups who saw the costumes of monsters and skeletons and demons and the focus of death or fear thought it was meant that Halloween celebrated evil or even the devil himself. And they began calling it the devil's birthday, even though no religion or culture ever taught that the devil has a birthday. And the devil is not part of the Celtic tradition, and Halloween was never meant to celebrate him. It was a harvest and a spiritual festival that slowly changed into fun traditions like trick-or-treating and costumes. And the idea of it being the devil's birthday mostly grew in recent centuries, especially in America, when certain groups wanted to warn people against celebrating it, and they connected it with devil worship, even though the connection does not exist in true history of Halloween. It's ignorance.
That makes sense. By the way, Alejandra, do you celebrate Halloween?
You're just a filthy piece of crap, aren't you? What if I was to say that I was to dress up as your homeless culo?
My what?
Did I stutter? Oh, wait, I forgot. Where you're from, reading is at a first grade level.
You know what? You're starting to piss me off, boy.
Guys, cool it. We're on a time frame here. Just chill. Maybe this will get your minds off your socks. Halloween night, October 31st, 1974, in Deer Park, Texas, was not like any other for kids in the neighborhood that day. Children ran from house to house in costumes, carrying bags to collect candy. The streets were full of laughter, the smell of autumn in the air, and porch lights welcoming trick-or-treaters. In one house, the O'Brien family was getting ready to join the fun. Ronald Clark O'Brien, 30 years old, an optician and a church deacon, was preparing his two children, Timothy, who was 8 years old, and Elizabeth, who was 5, for the night. On the surface, it looked like a normal Halloween, but Ronald had secretly planned something terrible. He was heavily in debt, facing repossession of his car, mortgage problems, and a failing business. In a shocking move, he had taken out multiple life insurance policies on both of his children just days before Halloween, hoping to collect thousands of dollars. That night, the family set out on their usual trick-or-treating route in Pasadena, a nearby city, stopping at several neighbors' houses. Ronald had prepared Pixie stick candies laced with cyanide, one for each child and a few extra for neighborhood kids. Timothy chose one of the candy sticks, and shortly after eating it, he complained it tasted bitter. His father gave him Kool-Aid to wash it down, but soon Timothy became violently sick. He vomited, convulsed, and ran to the bathroom, where he collapsed, and despite being rushed to the hospital, Timothy died within an hour. The joyful night of costumes and candy had turned into a terrifying tragedy. The authorities quickly began investigating. Autopsies revealed that the Pixie sticks Timothy ate were filled with potassium cyanide, a deadly poison. The other Pixie stick distributed to neighborhood children, including 2 of his father's neighbors, and a boy from his church, were recovered, and fortunately none of those children ate them. Investigators discovered that Ronald had tried to buy cyanide from a chemical supply store shortly before Halloween, indicating premeditation, and they also learned that he had taken out life insurance policies on his children totaling more than $60,000, and had called his insurance company the morning after Timothy's death to inquire about collecting the money. The motive became clear: financial gain. And Ronald was desperate to escape his debts, and used Halloween as a way to cover up his crime, blending with the night of trick-or-treating and chaos to avoid suspicion. His plan was even horrifying, calculated, and he was targeting his own children to even achieve this goal, which was selfish and evil. So Ronald O'Brien was arrested on November 5th, 1974, charged with capital murder and attempted suicide for the other children. His trial began in 1975, where the prosecution presented evidence of his visits to chemical stores and his knowledge of cyanide and his unusual interest in the deadly substance. Witnesses testified that he had spoken about fatal doses of cyanide. And his financial problems made it clear that money was the reason behind this crime. In a shocking turn of events, the jury took less than an hour to find him guilty of capital murder, and shortly after, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Over the following years, Ronald tried to appeal his sentence multiple times, delaying the execution. But on March 31st, 1984, exactly 10 years after the crime, he was executed at the Huntsville unit in Texas. And his last meal included steak, fries, corn, salad, and Boston cream pie, and his final words were a strange mix of apology and reflection. The Timothy O'Brien case, often called the Candyman murder, had a lasting effect on Halloween traditions in America. Parents began checking their every piece of candy before allowing their children to eat it. Communities became more cautious, and Halloween, once seen as a simple night of fun, became a night with an undercut of fear. And the tragedy showed how greed and desperation could hide behind even the most innocent holiday traditions, leaving a permanent mark on the memory of Halloween. To this day, the story of Timothy O'Brien serves as a chilling reminder that danger can sometimes come from those that we trust the most. And it's a case that continues to be remembered in true crime circles and Halloween lore alike.
Well, that's something that Alejandro would do. Stuff things in children's candies even if it was a prank.
Oye, mira, cabrona. How many times do I gotta tell you it's Alejandro? And second of all, how do we know that your redneck ass wouldn't do that, huh? I mean, look at the beard.
Well, you gotta admit, he does have a point, Larry.
Oh, sure. Take his side, 'cause he's Spanish.
Well, that's got nothing to do with it, Larry. I mean, I'm also part culture of where you're from. I'm just enjoying the nagging with both you guys.
Really? So you think this is funny, David?
I actually do, man. This is funny. Seeing two grown men argue about stupid crap. I mean, why not?
Really? Well, you wanna know what's funny? Is how many Cubans does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One to change the light bulb and the other one bragging about where the light bulb came from. That's you.
Told you he was weird.
Hey, Cracker, why don't you shut the hell up?
A cracker what? Boy, you don't even know who you messing with.
That's you.
On a note, I'm gonna end this.
I'll knock your ass, I'll chew them teeth out, and I'll give you some vaca frita with that.
Ven acá, idiota. Tú eres caca.
Have a great night, guys. And do me a favor, please look at your candies. Happy Halloween!
And some
Tú no
arrested
sabes
boy
nada.
with
Tú
this.
estás engronante.
Don't
Yeah,
make
try
me start.
Come on.
Oh yeah, I
Get out
got
of
it
the
all
street,
right. Oh yeah,
idiot.
don't tell.
Get
You
out of
tell
the
what you know
street,
what, and then you
idiot.
back
What
right
you
at you
gonna
and your
do?
mama. Yeah,
Throw
just,
beer
you know what's
cans,
going.
throw beer
Man,
cans
shut
at
up, man.
me?
I'll go.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of you. You piece of crap. Échale, échale, ven acá, mira, ahora, mira.